All right, new wiring harness here. Went to the junkyard. They had 3 chargers in there, some Durangos, all had 5.7 Hemis in them, and no one got to them before I did. So this is what I bought. Well, first of all, I went there the day before. I'll just put this right here. Okay, this is that connector I'm always looking for. And the engine wiring harness was already gone on this charger I found. It was an 07. But look at this. I cut this out. And while I was there, I started yanking wires out. The whole harness was still in there besides the engine harness. So I got the white plug and all the wires that still went to that plug. Also got the black plug and all the wires that went to the black plug, including the CAN bus wires. And I think this was the EGR, which I just grabbed it anyway since it was all still connected. And went to the fuse box and cut the wires there, but had to cut them off going into the firewall. Everything was underneath the dash, so I didn't want to mess with climbing in there. So I just cut everything off, thinking as long as I have long enough wires here, I can get to the switch 12 and the power connector to the battery. A lot of the grounds, I left these on there in case I need to splice into them because it's the big ground that was on the side of the car. But like everything you need. So when I go in there and I buy this, the guy says, well, I'll charge you for 2 pigtails. And I think the whole damn thing was, like $40 just for this. But I've got my connectors since I have the other engine wiring harnesses already, and those 2. And then remember, the orange plug is already on the harness on the engine. Okay, so I go back 2 days later, and I yanked the whole, another Hemi was in there, and no one had touched it besides taking the intake off. I think they were trying to pull a MDS solenoid out of it, but they were already broken. But the intake was hanging halfway off, but this whole harness was still there. So this is what I did. Here's the whole harness. Pulled that, had to crawl underneath it. This was the oil pressure sending unit plug. And if the engine hasn't been touched, you've got an alternator on there and an alternator bracket bolted to the side of the block that keeps you from getting this off. So as you can see, I had to reach in there and snap it off because there's no way I could get my fingers in there to unlock that and unplug this. So what I had to do, they were starting to close, so I just cut the wires here, and then I got home and respliced them and heat shrinked everything back. But yeah, I didn't want to hurt the wires, but that's still good. That's the oil pressure sending unit plug, which is still in there because I already pulled that off, but it's just keeping everything together. So whole harness, and I pulled the exact same thing off of this engine compartment because I wanted that plug that goes into there like I have in my videos, and it has the black plug, the white plug, and the black plug, and then everything I could try to keep. So for this whole harness with this plug plugged into it, $60. But I had to crawl underneath the unit, the charger, which they had jacked up. And this junkyard's very clean. It's all concrete underneath every row of cars. Got this whole harness with the C100, which I make all my videos off of with my 5.7s and the 6.1 running. Exact same harness. You don't need the MDS, which happens to be here too. Where is that connector hanging off here? Right here. MDS solenoid harness, which I could use if I wanted to, but you know, you never know if that's what's causing the, you know, the timing chains to break or not. So we just disable that in the tune, and I can just leave that unplugged like I have on my 5.7 and turn it off in the East PCM. Okay, so what I did with this harness, all my wires that were cut, I went in, and all the loose wires that came out of the C100, you know, I ohmed them out with a continuity tester and found exactly where they went, where I'm going to run them. Like this one, pin 12, 5 volt pink wire, pink with a yellow stripe, to the gas pedal, pin 6, you know, stuff like that. Here's the black plug that was loose. All the loose wires coming out of here, I've got them all. I ran a continuity tester on those and made sure I've got every pin correct, and wrote down, you know, look, like the starter switch, blue driver's side, O2, return, yellow and pink wire, everything, the switch 12 volts, and then did the same thing with the white connector. Found out all my wires that I have loose, which are right here. And all those are going to go to, you know, the ASD relay, brown, passenger rear O2, delete. That we're going to delete that one because it's for the second O2 sensor, which we don't have on the other side of the cat. But I just found every wire that I have loose here that I'm going to hook up to something or delete. There's my CAN bus for my ODB2, and the wires that go to the gas pedal. Everything is every wire that's loose I marked down on here. So this is going to be one of the harnesses I'm putting in the car for part 3 of my video on the Pace Car 5.7 swap. Just like this. See this little wire? When you're in the junkyard pulling all these off, you get to see where everything went. And like this right here, I'm probably going to use that for my circuit breaker that goes to my battery. But this was the starter wire on the passenger side of the charger, and this was the starter solenoid wire, which I don't really use on that side because on all my Hemi swaps, I'm always back to the driver's side. So I have to decide what I want to do with this, if I even want it in there, and retape it. But just let you know, find these chargers. This one had 4 Hemis in it, and normally when I go to a junkyard, first time I went to this junkyard, I was just driving by and I thought, let's see if they have any chargers in there. And they did. And first time I got to the Hemis before someone else did, before I did. So I was able to pull all this out. $60 for this complete harness with the connector, and it's almost ready to go. I'll show putting a fuel pump relay, a starter relay, ASD relay, and a couple of fuses, and this is going to be running on an engine. So I don't know if this will be part 3 of my Hemi swap pace car, or if this is going to be a unique, you know, wiring harness how-to, because a lot of people just want to figure out how to do this wiring harness, you know, with all the relays. My other video shows the relays I have hooked up, what pins they go to, and this is what you really need to know. You need to know your pins on these connectors, because they're all the same. You've got 3 of them on this style with this PCM. So when you're looking at the connector, you know, pin 1 through 10, 11 through 19, 20 through 28, 29 through 38, it helps you determine which wires are which when you're looking at your connector and what to hook up. Okay, so I might just send this up as a new video just for the wiring on these 5.7s on the early. This should work from, let's say, 2004 to 2010 engines. I don't know about some of the sensors might be different, but you can always change them. See, look, I even got the capacitor. I even got a knock sensor because one of the connectors had a broken lock, like this one right here. So this side, somebody got in there and I guess broke that little release off. So I just unbolted the whole thing and took it with me. And when I got up to the front, I just told them engine wiring harness. Boom, they look it up on the computer. $60. All right, so I'm gonna send this video up. Thanks for watching. And stay tuned. I'll be showing all the relays, hooking it up, and then maybe even running on the engine like I did with my other videos.